Yeah! Welcome to Grafted.
That's right. Wednesday night. Changing it up.
It's different.
It is different.
I don't think I realized that.
You didn't know it was Wednesday night?
I forgot. Hey, Barbara Scott. Hello, Grafted family. Shalom. Who else we got?
We've got
That's
J-Law. That's right. Justin Lawson.
Hi, Marie.
Hey, man.
J.D. Lawson. You know that guy.
I do.
You know, he's from way
Love
back
that
when.
guy. Love that guy.
Nicole, Marie, hi all. Hello to you all as well.
Welcome to Thanksgiving Eve to all of those Americans that are watching, and all of those non-Americans, happy Erev Thursday.
You know, in honor of the season, I have a little surprise that you don't know about.
Oh no.
And it's this.
Oh no, he's not. Oh wow. Did you just dab? You did not. That's
a dab in Thanksgiving turkey.
Oh, the turkey's dabbing.
He's saying,
wow. Whoa. I did not see that coming.
Cheers to you all. Happy Thanksgiving.
Where in the world did you get that? That's hard to find.
I'll give you one guess.
You got online and you created that yourself.
Wife found it at a thrift store.
Thank you so much, Cassie.
It's a hoodoo.
Oh wow.
That's a deep joke.
Wow, I forgot about hoodoo. Quick Hebrew lesson. What does hoodoo mean, Sam? It means Thanksgiving.
It means give thanks.
It means give thanks, and it also means turkey. That's right.
So you
quick
can tell
Hebrew
your friends,
lesson, modern Hebrew.
Hoodoo.
Hoodoo.
Give thanks, you turkey.
For Thanksgiving, for turkeyness. Well, anyway, glad you guys have joined us. Welcome
Turkey
to
Dad.
our live stream. Even Peru. That's all right. There's a lot to be thankful for, no matter where you live.
Yes.
So, great live stream tonight. We are having a special guest. That's right.
We are on an interview
Kick.
train.
Choo-choo.
Trend.
That's right.
All aboard the interview train. Who's up next?
Jerry Miller, Rabbi and Papa Jerry Miller will be joining us. And wow.
He's right over there.
He's in the room, in studio, with our live studio audience.
If you listen close, you might hear him laugh.
You're going to love it. He is going to join us for a Bible challenge. Special Bible challenge. Why is it special, Sam?
It's all about Yeshua.
That's right.
It's a Jesus Bible challenge.
It's a Jesus challenge. You're going to love it.
And I'm asking the questions. It's going to be Tom versus Jerry.
Hello.
Oh, I did not see that coming.
So, Tom, are you into cats at all, or Jerry? Do you like mice? Nobody likes.
Jerry always wins.
Sam,
Jerry does, yeah.
since we're having a Messianic Jewish rabbi on our show, what would you say is maybe the most famous or well-known game show that Jewish people would want to watch?
I think I have the answer. Do I need to put it in the form of a question? It's Jeopardy.
And why is that?
Because all the answers are questions.
Oh! So, in honor of our Messianic Jewish rabbi, it will be a Jeopardy-themed Jesus challenge.
Jeopardy-themed Jesus challenge.
That's
Okay,
a true
got
story.
it. Yeah, how do you say Jeopardy or Jeopardy?
Depends where you're from.
Geoparty. I'm gonna call it a Geoparty.
So, if you have questions...
Scotland? What? I've been there.
If you have questions for Jerry, we put them in the chat and we will try to answer them if we can.
Just make sure they're great questions.
Or we'll make something up. Okay, quick story. You're not going to miss this. So, if you remember our last Bible challenge, we gave away tickets to the premiere of Season 3 of The Chosen in Atlanta, Georgia. And I have one report of some of the free tickets that were used by Tim Eagle. Tim messaged me, and this is what he told me. True story here. That that Grafted is so honored,
Yeah.
because we weren't able to make it.
Yeah.
That-
Unfortunately.
Grafted is so honored by the Chosen that they put Tim and his guest in front of Dallas and Amanda Jenkins
Really?
in the executive, like where the executives sit,
Nice.
before they realized it was a mistake. And they asked them to move somewhere else. But
that's perfect.
regardless,
That's perfect.
that makes a lot of sense.
I hope they knew. I hope that Dallas and his wife knew that they were our grafted people.
I don't know.
And if they didn't, we need to tell him.
That would have been hilarious.
Hey, you know,
I wish it was us.
From it, that was our people.
If it would have been us, it would have been so funny.
Oh, excuse me. I thought you would
Anyway.
enjoy the view of the back of my noggin.
All right, Sam, we have another big announcement.
We've got a lot of announcements.
A lot of announcements before we jump
I'm a
in.
big fan of announcements, so it's okay.
Here we go. Official announcement. Tonight we are finally launching our very own Grafted U. That's right, our online Messianic Bible School. So we are pretty excited because come to find out, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
To launch a school?
It is a lot of work.
I mean, is it as much work as dabbing a turkey?
Ho-do that we were launching it, okay? So we are having our first class. It's called Introduction to what's it called?
Introduction to a Biblical Messianic Worldview. I got you. I'm here all
Thank
night.
you so much. It begins January 26th. You don't want to miss it. You can check out all the details.
January
at-
26th. That's the day after Matt's birthday.
Oh.
Sorry. Keep
Is he
going.
going to be 40? No. Man, he's young. All right. There is an early bird discount, so you want to listen and get out your pen. An early Hodoo discount. It is Give Thanks 20, and if you sign up between now and the end of Giving Tuesday, November 29th,
Next Tuesday.
you get 20% off the
20%
class.
off.
So you want to write that down. Give Thanks 20.
Not dab turkey 20. I mean, we all know we'll be dabbing our turkey in some gravy tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay, so we have a special promo video about Grafted U that we are going to show you right now, I think. Well, welcome to Grafted U. We are a spirit-empowered, Messianic Jewish-rooted Bible school, and our purpose is to help you develop a biblical Messianic worldview so you can go deeper in your understanding of God and the Bible. Today, there is so much confusion about God and the Bible, Israel, the end times, and so many people are talking about the Jewish roots of the faith because they want to understand the historical and authentic Jesus of the Bible. So we are offering an online class titled Introduction to a Biblical Messianic Worldview. And it's going to help you understand the biblical story and the important role of Israel and the church and how we can help hasten the return of King Jesus. I'm Dr. Tom Blake. I have my doctorate in Messianic Jewish theology. I've lived and studied in Israel. I am excited to help you build a biblical Messianic worldview. Over 5 weeks, I'm going to be your professor, and you're going to discover that Messianic theology is embedded in story, this epic story of the good news of the kingdom, and that it actually begins and ends in a garden. So we're going to go from the Garden of Eden to the New Jerusalem Garden City. And along the way, you're going to see that God's desire is for a family. He sent his son Jesus to bring salvation to Israel and the nations so that we could be a part of his big, diverse, and unified kingdom family. We will send you 2 videos each week, plus we'll have a live class each Tuesday where we'll have teaching and questions and answers, and then we'll break into small group discussions that are facilitated with questions and answers. By the end of the class, you're going to be able to understand the big picture of the biblical story, this biblical Messianic worldview, and you're going to be able to see where we've come from, where we're going, and what still needs to happen to get to the return of King Jesus. because we all have a role to play in hastening his return. So join me and partner with the Lord in building this unified kingdom family. Sign up today for the class to go deeper in your understanding of God and the Bible and build a biblical messianic worldview.
Wow!
Oh, whoa! We multiplied.
Where did you come from?
I don't know. I just appeared here.
Whoa.
Welcome, Jerry, to the show. She registered. Nicole Marie registered. We got a few more highs to say.
That's right.
Liliana personal email.
Well, hello
Hello
Mrs.
there.
Personal Email. Sheila Cronin, welcome. And the biggest welcome goes to our very own Jerry Miller. Thanks for being with us. Oh yeah. The in crowd. Thank
Our
you.
live
Thank
studio
you. That's
audience
right.
is so excited for you to be here.
Tickets are sold out.
Yes.
We
sold
tickets.
Without checks in the mail. Without further ado, let me introduce our studious guest. Jerry Miller is one of the fathers of the modern Messianic Jewish Movement.
It's true.
He's affectionately known as Papa Jerry. He was a Messianic Jewish congregational leader for 20 years. He's also affectionately known as Rabbi Jerry. He has been an ordained congregational elder longer than Sam's been alive, which is over 40 years, by the way.
Is that true?
True
Man.
story.
I'm only 36.
Yeah,
Oh,
over
man.
40 years.
Wow.
He's also affectionately known as Elder Jerry, not to be confused with elderberry, which I assume is a fruit, but I'm not sure. He leads Grace Empowers Ministry along with his only wife, Jo. Glad you could be here. They have ministered together for almost 40 years, teaching, mentoring, prophesying, worship leading. Not you, I don't think, on that part.
Nope.
That was Jo. And counseling all over the world. That's right. He is not only an intra-national speaker, but he is an international speaker.
That's the whole world. He's like, when are we gonna start?
That one was really bad. Okay. He's the father of 2 lovely daughters and grandfather of 5. He's the Jerry to my Tom. Ladies and gentlemen.
What is that?
Papa Rabbi Jerry Miller. Yeah, all right.
Papa Rabbi Jerry Miller.
That's right.
If you all look in the comments, you can see that apparently I retracted a comment, so I apologize. For
Already?
Okay, first things first. We're going to do something a little bit different tonight.
Uh-oh.
It's going to be exciting. We're going to do the Jesus Game Show Challenge. What are we calling it?
I don't remember. Yeah, good name. It was a
It
good
was a
name.
really catchy name. Just a
Rewind.
sticker. We're going to do that first.
Okay.
So we're going to test your skills
Mm.
first. And just so you know, Jerry, this is a tradition. We do have a prize
Ooh,
for the winner.
winner.
And I guarantee it'll astound you.
Yeah.
You guys ready?
Wow, we are ready.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. It's the Jeopardy Bible Challenge. That's what
there it is. There it
okay,
is.
it came to me.
There's
Which
a reason
means,
why we talked about Jeopardy.
That's right.
Jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
Jeopardy.
Which means, do we
So-
have to answer in the form of a question?
All of the questions will be answers.
Mm.
Oh my.
Yeah.
And all of your answers must be phrased in the form of a question. Whether or not I will be able to judge the accuracy of the question, I will not guarantee.
What?
However,
What does that even mean?
they have to be in the form of a question, is
All
what
right.
it means. But if you say, what is, and you
Mm.
just say something, I'll probably say it right.
Okay.
Here we go. Oh, I'm trying to save papers, save trees here, and I got it all on my phone. Are you guys ready for this?
Let's go.
Make sure your buzzer's working. Okay, I only have about 27 questions, so
That's all. Okay.
hold tight.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite jokes. I say that every time. So, you ready? Answer number 1. Did you get it? All right. What? Go ahead.
I'm falling asleep over here.
This political leader ordered, they're all about Jesus. Okay? This political leader ordered the census that brought Mary and Joseph.
Caesar Augustus.
Your answer must be in the
Oh, man.
Yes,
Who was
Jerry.
Caesar Augustus?
You should have seen my brain. I was going, it wasn't Caesar Augustus. Who was it? Who was it?
I'm so glad that's how it started.
I was like, was it Herod? I was like, huh?
He's like, do I have to spell it?
How did I already forget that?
I don't know. I just explained the rules. Okay, you guys ready? Number 2. Jesus, or Yeshua, was this age when he first taught in the temple. Yes, Tom.
12.
Wrong.
Oh, what is 12?
First taught in the temple.
Yeah, I'm waiting for your buzzer if you want. Yeah, go ahead, Jerry.
What is 12?
Yes! This is great.
I like this.
Check, please.
Woo!
Oh, I'm like getting so excited I buzzed in first.
Your passion is there. All right, number 3. You guys ready for this? This is going great. Number 3. Yeshua did many miracles, but this was the first one that's recorded. Yes, Tom.
What is turning water to wine?
Yeah!
Don't call it a comeback.
Yeah, I won't. Number 4. You guys ready? This is a great one. He was the first disciple of Yeshua whose name was recorded in the Gospel of John. Tom Blake.
Peter. What is Peter?
Incorrect.
Who is John?
Wrong. The answer is, who was Andrew? Thomas Andrew.
Is my mom on the show?
Question.
Hey, Deanne.
No, she's definitely watching. So is my mom. Hi. Number 5. This person was told the rebuke, "Get thee behind me, Satan." I think that's Jerry first.
Who was Peter?
Yes. You know, he hasn't messed up yet. Like he's steady on this.
Steady Jerry.
Steady Jerry. That's what we call him. I'm gonna call him now for.
I've had a little help.
This is like a real game of cat and mouse.
Whoa!
All right, here we go. You ready? This one's a little harder. So put on your thinking caps. Whenever that is. The Gospels record that Jesus raised these 3 from the dead. You have to name all of them. I'll give you a hint. They don't all necessarily have names.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure.
It's silent on the set.
know,
Did you hear
right?
that? Quiet on the set.
I've got 2 people that are discussing in the background. The Gospels record that Jesus raised these 3 from the dead. So we're looking for 3 resurrections.
3 resurrections? I'm so confused.
Emma's got it. We've got one in the back. Well, there's 2 buzzers in the back.
Well, on off camera.
All right, Leah, what is it?
Lazarus.
Well, form of a question.
Hey, no. Emma.
Sick. Let's hear it.
Who is Lazarus?
Yes.
Who is Jairus' daughter?
Yes.
Who is the centurion's daughter? Or the...
Or the servant.
My note says, I didn't verify this. My note says the widow's son
Oh, yeah.
in Luke 7. Okay, well that was a real humdinger. Okay, number 7.
I thought you meant like their names.
Well,
So
I said they're not actually not necessarily
that's what I was
named.
so confused
Sorry,
at first.
Tom.
Oh,
Sorry, Tom.
Man.
Okay, it was a little too easy, and then I rephrased it. I made it hard.
Didn't he resurrect himself too? That's what
I was thinking no. But
That's a bonus for sure. Okay, after his crucifixion,
No, so-
Jesus was buried in this man's tomb. Yes, Tom.
Joseph of Arimathea.
Wrong.
Oh.
A question.
Who was Joseph of Arimathea?
Yes.
You know what the funny part is that it was my idea to do this in the form of this.
It was.
That was
It was.
It's a great idea.
like, yeah.
Jerry's loving it.
Oh man.
3 of my 4 points are.
All right, here we go. We're gonna keep this ball rolling. This is going well. These two ancient leader prophets,
Excuse me?
leader/prophets
Okay.
of Israel, had a mountaintop meeting with Messiah. Yes, Tom.
Who are
Yeah. Good start.
Eliyahu and Moshe?
Ding, 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 ding. You got time. You got time. This is a personal favorite of mine.
Oh,
It's not a car joke, okay? All right. You might call him track star or the fastest disciple, as proven by a race to the tomb.
Who was John?
Yes!
I thought it was gonna be John the Baptist, so I almost said like.
I gave him a nickname, Track Star. Easy there, Track Star. Okay. Yeshua healed him, but he still earned an alliterative nickname throughout history. Tom?
Who is Simon the leper?
No. That's not alliteration.
Oh, I thought you meant a literal, like
Alliterative. An alliterative.
I thought you meant a literal nickname,
Incorrect.
because he's not really the leper because he was healed.
Right. Correct.
Judges?
No, it's an alliterative. An alliterative. I can't even say it now. Nickname. Who wants to buzz in? Yes.
Who was blind Bartimaeus?
Bingo!
Oh, that was a good one.
done.
That was
well
good.
done. Okay, you might call it a launch pad or a landing pad. But Yeshua seems to like to ascend from here and descend to here. Yeah, Tom.
What is the Mount of Olives?
Yeah!
Did you make that one up? Oh, yeah. I knew it.
Oh, shoot. Okay. All right, I will enunciate well on this one because
Okay.
apparently it had some issues last time.
It might have been like the miracle was in the hearing. It might have been a problem in the hearing.
Could have been. This is the literal name or meaning of Yeshua's name. Tom.
Salvation.
What is salvation?
Jerry's already won, but we're still going because this is fun.
This is a colossal failure.
Okay, last question. This one's just for
It
fun.
won't stick. It won't. It's not fired.
It's just not working.
Oh.
Okay, this special talent, and forgive me for the pronunciation here, this special talent of the basilisk lizard earned it the nickname the Jesus Christ lizard.
The special talent of the lizard?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ.
Yep, his nickname is the Jesus Christ. I didn't make this up. This is real. Yeah, Tom, go ahead.
Who or what happens is that the lizard die. It looks like it dies and then it comes back to life.
No, great guess though. Great guess, and well done on the phrasing.
That's quite a question.
Any takers in the room, Jerry? Question or answer?
I have no clue.
He has no idea. Back in the back. Yes, Liliana personal email says walking on water.
Oh,
There's a lizard
is she
that
right?
walks on water. Yeah.
Give.
I'm sorry, but you didn't phrase it in the form.
Oh, Liliana personal email.
Okay, Jerry, you win.
Yay!
Here's your prize. You have to open it now.
Oh,
I do.
wow.
Okay.
Liliana, I feel for you, by the way.
I know what it is,
Wow.
and it's better than this.
Oh, a candy
Some candy.
Okay.
Some candy.
That's right.
Coming up on Hanukkah, Christmas, so you know. And it's what is it, Jerry?
A lighted unicorn. Okay.
It's a Christmas ornament.
Yes, it is.
And some sweet tarts.
Sweet tarts. Okay. All right.
Wow.
Okay.
Let's show everybody.
Wow.
Let's show everybody that.
Cassie Dawn, Sam's wife, you outdid yourself. Look at that for the camera
That
there.
is-
that is
gorgeous.
amazing. Look at the beauty. Look at the beauty.
If you're wanting to donate it, I know some takers.
Your daughters.
Wow, that was too much fun.
Guys, that was hilarious. And I threw. Oh, it comes with a light bulb. Look at that. Ow, it poked me. Guys, that was great. That was fantastic.
That was something.
Jerry, your command of putting things in the form of a question was just exquisite.
I learned in seminary.
Oh, wow.
That's what they teach you.
Oh, wise rabbi. Well, let's transition with a theological question.
Let's go.
Okay, if you don't know, we are in the midst of the World Cup.
World. It's different
So-
than the World Series, which isn't actually the
No.
world.
No. There's a lot of foreign players in Major League Baseball, but the World Cup only happens every 4 years. And not only that, your very own, if you're from America, United States,
USA.
which if you notice, I am wearing red, white, and blue. Not an accident. So,
What's the shirt on underneath? Is it like America shirt? Or?
it is not.
Oh. No surprises.
So, in honor of the United States of America and the World Cup, and we tied Wales, by the way. If you don't know, I'm a soccer fan. It was a tough tie. It felt like a loss. In honor of the World Cup,
That's a Bible joke.
it's still going.
Somehow, I don't know, you can fit Jesus in there somehow.
I want to ask you this very important theological question. Will there be sports in the age to come?
Hey, we're all wanting to know.
He's looking around. He was like looking at Sam. Yes?
Yeah, I think so.
How come?
I think that God wants us to experience things we enjoy doing
That's a good
that
answer.
are righteous things.
Yeah.
Wait, did you just say soccer is righteous? That's what I heard.
Well, that's your interpretation.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
good.
it's okay if I watch all of the World Cup games. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. Especially with Leah right in the room.
Oh,
Okay.
Susanna said horseback riding. That's definitely a sport, and it's definitely in the age to come. So
That's a good point. We
that's
do
called,
know that.
That's called proof in the pudding right there.
Mm.
You're right. Okay, well maybe we should get to know you a little bit more
Let's do it.
instead of just jumping right in. So tell our audience, if you don't mind, how in the world did you end up on this show?
That's a great question.
That's what I'd like to know.
I'm joking. Well, we know you're a Messianic Jewish rabbi, so tell us, did you grow up knowing Yeshua, or how did you come to know Yeshua? Give us a little bit of your story so we can get to know you.
Sure. I did not grow up knowing Yeshua or even thinking it was okay to know Yeshua as a Jewish person. I grew up in a Reformed Jewish family, and
What does that mean?
well,
what were you reforming?
we were not reforming much of anything, but just no. It was a non-religious but synagogue attending family.
Okay.
And so we. And,
So you
and
went to synagogue
I did.
on Christmas and Easter. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's
No,
not.
that's another.
Oh, that's the,
Actually,
that's different.
until my bar mitzvah, I went to synagogue just about every week, and kind of tapered off a little bit after I had my bar mitzvah, but I went regularly. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, but I didn't know what I believed about God, and I guess I consider myself an agnostic. I can remember one day in Shabbat school as we were learning, we were having a class and learning mostly history, and the thought came to mind. It's one of those moments I can remember where I was in the room. I can remember where I was sitting, and I remember thinking, they never teach us anything about God here. It's
wow.
kind of all about tradition and history and culture and that kind of thing. And
This is in Sunday school.
This was in Shabbat school, and so
On Sunday.
on Saturdays.
Oh, on Saturday.
Yes.
Oh, okay. A lot
Yes.
of Shabbat schools are on Sunday.
I was like,
or-
are you asking a trick question?
No,
I'm not
No,
sure
that
what's
was
going on.
no. He's right. I mean,
okay,
this was one of these huge, several thousand people synagogue,
Wow.
Okay.
and
Where was this?
in Cleveland, Ohio,
Cleveland, okay.
suburbs of Cleveland. And at any rate, it just got me thinking, and for the rest of my time, I really didn't learn much about God, but for some reason, I was interested in learning Hebrew and having a bar mitzvah. My brother, I had an older brother who did not do that. He chose not to, and my parents didn't put any pressure, but my decision was, yeah, I think I'd like to do this.
Oh, that's
And so, and partly I think I was a little bit in it for the money because you get lots of gifts and that kind of thing. But I think there was something of the Lord in it before I even knew that the Lord did
yeah.
that kind of thing. And so, the interesting thing is, I got kicked out of Hebrew school a few months before I was supposed to have my bar mitzvah, which is not helpful.
What for?
What did you get
What'd
kicked
you
out
do?
Well, I think some leadership qualities were coming out, and I really love to have a good time in class and draw other people into it.
Wow.
And my teacher this particular day did not appreciate it.
Wow. That's
And
hilarious.
so
You got
one
kicked out?
he said, go, don't come back. And I thought, what am I going to do now? Because
Right.
I'm supposed to have a bar mitzvah in 3 months.
Wow.
The good thing was, he was not one of the rabbis. He was just what we call a big macher. He was a guy with a lot of authority, but he must have forgotten what he did, because I made up excuses for a few months about why I wasn't going to Hebrew school, and then I showed up about a month ahead of my bar mitzvah,
Wow.
and I had it. And so, anyway,
Okay, so
There was
let,
just-
let me ask one quick framing
Yes.
question. So this is up to the age of about 13.
yes.
Don't go into the story yet, but when did you when did you start following Yeshua?
When I was 25.
So 25. Okay, so
Yes.
just for the framework, so what happened doing your bar mitzvah? What did you
Right.
experience? And then maybe we can get more into the how you met Messiah story later.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it was a question of learning Hebrew, learning the portion that was assigned for the day of my bar mitzvah, and
Did you give a darash, a little teaching?
No, I didn't.
No.
The rabbi did.
Oh, okay.
So I read the Hebrew and the English, and then the Haftorah, which was the portion from the prophets, and no New Covenant passage, but anyway. So I had my bar mitzvah, and pretty much drifted away from religious attendance at that point. And so a few years later, when I went to college, I I remember my parents asking me, "Did you find a synagogue to go to?" And I thought, "Why would I do that?" I mean, I just didn't.
Interesting.
I didn't have that. That wasn't in my frame of mind. It
Right.
wasn't in my thinking, and I felt like that was what they did, and what older people did, and I just wasn't interested. And so, what I was interested in was partying and getting high every single day.
Oh,
and
wow.
So to this day, I'm not totally sure how I graduated. I went to school at the University of Maryland, and I
Terrapins.
and yeah,
Bless you.
I'm.
Is
not
it a turtle? It's a turtle,
It's
isn't
a
it?
big turtle. Yes, yes.
I have no idea what they're talking
So, a terrapin.
about. Okay.
Terrapin's the mascot of the
Oh.
University of Maryland. Yeah. So basically, I smoked marijuana
Wow.
and drank every single night for 5 years.
Wow. But you
And
graduated.
I did graduate, not exactly with honors or anything, but I did get through, which was all my parents wanted. They wanted me to get through school, and they're thinking, if he's got that degree, he can get a job
Right.
and that kind of thing. And so it was kind of an interesting situation. Do you want me to get to the testimony part?
Yeah,
of
so
how I
that's
came to Yeshua?
between 18 and 23 or
Yeah.
so, right?
So I'm getting high for basically every night for 5-6 years,
Yeah.
and got to the point. I ended up getting a job as a manager at a liquor store, and so it was good money. My parents were thrilled because I did not get through college with a whole lot of motivation or show a lot of of
And
motivation.
Sweet discounts, too. You know what I
I'll
mean?
tell you.
Like-
I'll tell you. So I'm at this job and going home every night, and I'm realizing something's not right with my life. And I
Started feeling it.
I started feeling something.
Yeah.
And realizing that getting high at that point I didn't have roommates, so I was getting high by myself, and so I felt like something's got to change, but I have no idea what.
Wow.
So I remembered that a previous roommate of mine, who's Jewish, who I later realized came to faith in Jesus, he would disappear every Friday night. He wouldn't tell us where he was going because he didn't want to talk about it. We didn't want him to talk
Right.
about it. We had a feeling it was something religious.
Undercover.
And
Undercover brother.
undercover. But he was the one I remembered. So I gave him a call. He said, "It's a good thing you called because I'm moving to Philadelphia in 2 days. So let's meet tomorrow."
Wow.
So we met the next day.
And you just told him you're like, what? You're not happy with life? Or like, why did you call him?
I
Like, because he's
told
Jewish
him-
and you were Jewish? Or like, why did you reach
Yeah,
out to
well,
him?
I reached out to him because I could see he found something, that he stopped getting high with us, and he actually seemed happier.
Wow.
And so I reached out to him and said, "Listen, I just wanted to talk with you a little bit about what's happened to you in the last few years." And so we talked a little bit. He wasn't that aggressive. I mean, I don't know if he ever mentioned, I don't remember that he ever mentioned Jesus, Yeshua, but he ended up giving me an Old Testament. He gave me a prophecy New Testament where it's marked, and just where Jesus fulfilled prophecies and that
cool.
kind of thing.
Wow.
And then he gave me a book called A Trumpet in Zion. I don't recall to this day who wrote the book. I don't have the book anymore. I wish I did.
Well,
But it was an amazing book because in reading it, I first came to the conclusion that there must be a God who's real, who inspired the Bible.
Wow.
Because there's no way that all of the prophecies that were talked about in this book could have come to pass without there being a planner behind it and someone orchestrating.
Divine orchestrator.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely.
so it's like through study and reading that you're
Yes.
encountering the Lord. It's like
Yes.
a very personal thing, it sounds like.
Yeah. And so, I mean, because I didn't know any other believers. I mean, I didn't, I mean.
You didn't know Christians or Messianic Jews, is
We-
that right? Or
I
you knew
did not. There was a guy that my friends and I, we would call the Christian guy that would come to our dorm
Token Christian guy.
and share the gospel, and we were not the nicest. And but at any rate, he was the only Christian I knew who professed being a Christian. I'm sure there were others, but I didn't know them.
So when is this happening? Is this?
This is happening when I'm about 24, 25.
But like,
years
when
old.
is this? About roughly like when?
1974,
Okay, wow.
75, and so.
It's in the mid to late 1900s.
I didn't see that coming. That was good.
Back in the 20th century. Yeah. So anyway, I reading this book, as he then gets in, the writer then gets into messianic prophecies, and I'm thinking, as I'm reading, this sounds like Jesus, but he's not saying a word about Jesus, and I was getting mad. I felt like I didn't know why he wasn't saying anything about Jesus. Well, finally, I realized he was setting me up. So.
Well, that's kind
The
of
classic set.
But the Old Testament kind of does that, right?
The Old
they don't
Testament
say his name
definitely
Jesus,
does.
and it's kind of a big setup for the
That's-
New Testament.
That's right. So he gets to the end of the book, and I am absolutely convinced that
wow.
Jesus, the one he's describing, fulfills the prophecies of the first coming of the Messiah. And I just remember sitting in a chair in my living room and thinking, okay, I believe this is true. Now I've got a choice to make. And
Interesting.
Wow.
I felt like if this is true, I have no choice but to follow it.
Wow.
To go after it. So
It's a good book.
it was
Yeah,
it was really good.
I wrote
mean,
it down. I mean, I'm sure you've looked for it.
I have, and I've never found it. like I said.
Wow.
So people say, "How did you get saved?" Well, I prayed the prayer on the last page of the book.
There was a prayer in the
There
book.
was a prayer.
Wow.
People actually do read those.
Wow.
I think if they're ready, and I was ready, and so I prayed the prayer, but I had no idea what to do with it.
Sure.
So not much changed. I
Yeah.
mean, for about a month, I stopped smoking pot or cut down on smoking pot and drinking, but I was still pretty much of a mess. And then somebody calls, another friend who I did not know had become a believer.
He calls you.
He called me. My other friend had told him, give Jerry a call in about a month and check up on him.
They're totally setting you up.
And they're totally setting me
That's
up.
great.
And so he said, every once in a while, he was not Jewish, but he said, every once in a while, we go visit this Messianic congregation called Beth Messiah. It was about a half hour from where I lived.
Wait a minute. You're
Beth
saying
Messiah.
there were Messianic Jewish congregations
There were
in
a
the
few.
1970s?
There were a few.
That's a long time ago.
Yes,
Yes, it was.
It is.
That was before Sam was born.
I would guess
Correct.
that there were probably
We can go with that.
12 to 15, maybe 20 congregations around the country.
Okay.
Wow.
That's
All right.
just a guess. There may have been
And
more,
you
maybe less.
happen to live
Right.
really close to a Messianic Jewish
Right.
Note the air quotes. That's
Uh-huh.
happen to live.
Just
amazing.
so
I'm,
happened.
I'm really feeling like the beginning of your story with Messiah is called the setup.
The setup. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So anyway, he asked me, would I want to come with them? They visit every once in a while on Friday nights, and I'm thinking, maybe this is what I believe. I have no idea,
Wow.
Right.
because I really didn't know.
Yeah.
I knew I believed in Yeshua, so I go with them, and
So this friend was also Jewish. Is that correct?
no, he was not
Oh, he
Jewish.
was not. Oh, okay.
He would visit Beth Messiah. He went to a church not far from where we lived,
Okay.
and so. But he would visit occasionally, and so basically he went just to take me. He and his wife.
Wow.
So anyway, we go, and before the service starts, they realize by the way I was talking, I'm a believer, and they're like going crazy as
They're
the
like,
service is about to
"What?"
start. Whoa, how did that happen? So, but something happened in this service, and the message that was shared by the rabbi, a man by the name of Manny Brotman, he's now with the Lord, but one of the great evangelists of the history of the Messianic movement.
Wow.
But he just gave an absolutely riveting message. I couldn't tell you the title. I couldn't tell you the topic. I just knew I was glued to my seat.
Wow.
And I knew as I listened to this, everything has to change.
Wow.
Life can never be the same again.
Wow.
And that was kind of what I would say was the day I committed my life
Wow.
to
Okay.
Yeshua.
Wow.
So it started in the chair, and
Yes.
it kind of finished in the pew.
Another chair. but that's
Another
okay.
chair.
Yeah.
Not a pew. No.
A Messianic Jewish synagogue, which
right.
is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So that kind of begins your journey in the Messianic Jewish movement, which
Yes.
means it's been like 40, 50 years or something
Yeah.
in the Messianic Jewish movement.
47 years.
47 years. That's amazing. So that's one of the reasons, there are many reasons that we wanted to have you on.
Yeah.
So tell our audience, what was it like, especially in those early decades, as a Jewish believer in the Messianic Jewish movement? We have the internet today, so many people
Right.
have now started to hear about the Messianic Jewish movement, Jews that love Jesus. But that was not the story. That's why it's amazing you just
Right.
happened to be by this congregation. That was not the story
For sure.
50 years ago. So what was it like in those early days?
It was, well, I mean, there was an excitement to it because it was obviously a new phenomenon. This was in 1975 that I came to faith.
Yeah.
And I believe the congregation had begun in 72 or
wow.
73.
So it's
It
real
was
young.
Very, very young.
Wow.
And so, I mean, there was just an excitement for what God was doing
Right.
with reaching Jewish people. It was, I mean, I would say it was a season. I don't know if I would call it revival, but it was a season in which many, many Jewish people were coming to faith.
Right. Awesome.
And,
Right.
you know,
What was the Jesus movement?
It was the
too,
Jesus
right?
movement.
So I mean, everybody was coming to faith.
yeah.
That's what it sounded like.
yeah.
That's a
but-
good correlation to note. Like there was revival happening.
Yes,
And
definitely.
So there was
Yeah.
lots and lots of Jewish people coming to faith at
Yeah.
that point in time too.
Yeah.
And that really the Messianic Jewish movement was, I would say the rebirth of the Messianic Jewish
Yes.
movement, right, from the first century. But it was birthed out of the Jesus movement.
Wow.
Right.
Like a lot of people don't realize that
Wow.
this was a part of just this miracle, this phenomenon, this sovereign move of God
Right.
in history.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for me, I mean, it was just, I was just taking everything in. And in addition to I mean, I could only go every few weeks at that time because I was working most Friday nights. And so it took me about 3 months to realize a liquor store is not the way I can glorify God with my life.
I was going to ask. So
And-
you're still managing the liquor store.
well,
It
it took me a while to figure that out.
Yeah.
So-
Well, sure.
yeah. So, but there was just an excitement and enthusiasm for what God was doing. I think it was shortly after that there was a national conference I had the opportunity to go to, one of the Messiah conferences, and realizing, along with hundreds and hundreds of Jewish people that were there, I'm not one out of a million on this.
Yeah.
I mean, something is happening in terms of
Right.
Jewish people coming to faith, and a lot of it was Gentile believers having a burden to share their faith with Jewish people,
Wow.
and there being this openness,
Yeah.
and with the emergence as Messianic congregations were emerging. I mean, there was an ideal place for people to
Right.
go to.
Right.
That's cool.
Like for me, I didn't even, to me, it was just natural to be going to a Messianic congregation. I enjoyed going to a church as well, but I felt like Messianic congregation, this is where I belong.
Right.
And the synagogue life that I didn't particularly care for growing up, I was now being drawn to.
Wow.
It sounds like it was your friend too, kind of understanding that even back then he was saying, "Hey, here's my Jewish friend. I think he needs to get
Yeah.
plugged into a Messianic Jewish congregation.
Yes.
Not my church. I mean, he might not jive with his upbringing. I don't know.
Right.
There seems to be some awareness there.
He
For
was a
sure.
forerunner.
Right.
That's
Right.
He was ahead of his time.
I would say he was. He was. yes.
I found that interesting. He's like, no, I want to take you guys or take you here.
And and the congregation, I mean, it was just very Jewish in terms of the feel of it,
Right.
the expression.
Yeah.
And so it just was a perfect fit.
This is a side question, but I was just thinking as you were talking, you know, like, because some of these stories I heard about the Jesus movement was just like, people were just like, what must I do to be saved? Like they're just walking down the street.
Right,
It seems
right.
like it was so much a sovereign move of God, but there must have been like a desperation in the culture. Like there must have been a brokenness in the culture. And
That's good, Tom.
and I wonder, do you see any parallels to the desperation in the culture and the need for God today as during that time? I mean, because I'm just wondering if we're, you know, a lot of people are asking this question. Are we
Sure.
on the verge of a revival or this
Right.
other great move of God? What are your thoughts about that?
I would say definitely, and I mean there are, you know, if you talk to some, they would say and I wouldn't disagree with this, folks who would say we are already in the early stages of it, and but I think, you know, people are so angry in our culture, and I think the culture is tired of being angry.
Weren't
I
they angry in the 70s
Wow.
though?
No, it was different.
It was different?
It
Okay.
wasn't quite the same.
Not as angry, or what was
it? There was an anger. There was a rebellion. I don't know if I would say the same kind of anger.
Interesting.
That's so entrenched in the politics of today.
I don't know. I think that's important for you to say, Jerry. I think that kind of gives us a heads up on what's going on and how we can pray and then how we can be focused. You know, it's like, okay, well, what do we need? It's not like it's a different answer.
Yeah.
You know, but just like to focus that way, it's like, well, we need the love of Messiah to abound.
Yeah.
Because what's the opposite of
Right.
rage? What's the opposite of anger? Is that
Exactly.
we need the love of Messiah to abound and
Right.
to be shown to people.
Right.
Exactly.
So how has, over the last however many decades, how do you feel like the Messianic movement has grown or changed, or, you know, like to this kind of just new move of God to, you know, for those who may not be familiar with the history, can you give us a brief, you know, history of the Messianic Jewish, just how it's progressed
Yeah.
Right.
to where we are today even?
Okay, you know, just to kind of preface, because I'm not a historian, and
Just
I
some
really
highlights.
and I really haven't been, you know, on the inside of a lot of the movers and shakers of the movement over the early years. But I can just say, I just happened to be born and come to faith at this point in time. And so I've had the opportunity to see a lot of things and observe a lot of things.
He's also one of the most humble men that I know. So he was an elder very early on, over 40 years
Right.
ago.
Congregational
So,
leader and elder, yeah.
And congregational leader for several
Yeah.
decades. So just from your own perspective.
Yeah. I would say, oh gosh, I mean, I think there's much more of an openness to the Holy Spirit. I think that's one of the major developments, and particularly, the interesting thing is, with the Messianic movement, even though we were birthed out of revival
Right.
in the Jesus movement, in a lot of ways, I think there was a feeling, a sense of having to guard the movement from outside influences because it was such a new movement, and we wanted it to remain when I say we, I mean, again, just the leaders in general, wanted it to remain a distinctly Jewish movement. And so...
So you were fighting for Jewish identity, is that
Ex-
fair? Like you were
exactly.
fighting to be
Exactly.
Jews, but like remain Jewish, but
Right.
love Jesus.
And
Exactly.
protecting it because it was in its infancy.
Exactly, and you know, it's like and so watching something grow up, and we've had the opportunity to do that, and so I would say the Holy Spirit openness has been a major development over the years. Obviously, there were plenty of people who believed in the fullness of the Holy Spirit, and so but it's more widely embraced. I think seeing the importance of the oneness, the unity with the body of believers, the churches, and really a developing of a one new man mentality has become much more, I'm not going to say commonplace, but much more available in the Messianic movements, whereas for a while it wasn't so available.
So help us out. When you say one new man, give us your understanding of one new man. Because I know, I mean, obviously I know some of this story as well, but like one of the things that happened, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is that more and more Gentiles started connecting to the Messianic Jewish Movement. And hands go up in the room. And so as that started to happen, and as there was this greater confidence in, Messianic Jewish identity,
Right.
then what do you mean by one new man? I'm just setting that up a little bit there.
Okay. One new man, it's really the idea that Jew and Gentile become one, but maintaining their distinctiveness. There is a distinctive calling for Jewish believers. There is a distinctive calling for Gentile believers. They go hand in hand, in some cases, walking together, as we do.
Right.
And so Gentiles do not have to become Jewish, but have an option, obviously, and are encouraged to identify with the Jewish people, not to imitate the Jewish people, but to identify with the Jewish people.
What do you mean identify with them? What do you mean by that?
Oh gosh.
Because you don't mean that I take on Jewish identity. That's not what you're saying.
Right. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you identify with the pains, the hurts, the realities of what it has meant for thousands of years to be Jewish.
Right.
And
to come alongside of you.
Yes.
Right.
Like to come alongside.
Like
exactly.
literally.
Sit
like,
behind a table.
Yes. There it is.
No, but to come alongside and
Exactly.
and acknowledge the atrocities, to acknowledge the history, to acknowledge what we as Gentile Christians have done in history to the Jewish people.
Yeah.
And to acknowledge that you still have a place at the table, we have a place at the table,
Exactly.
and those are distinct roles.
Yes. And that's part of the beauty of how God has put all this together. It's is the distinctiveness.
Right.
The one new man concept loses its power if everybody is just doing the same thing.
For sure.
Right.
And
boring. It's very boring.
it would be very boring. Yeah.
Because we want Sam to be his unique self. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Or this show would be half as entertaining, that's for sure.
Well, it's because there's only two hosts, so I'm good at math. Real math guy.
So let's shift gears here because
Can I say one more thing?
no, sorry, we're shifting gears.
I'm going to do it anyway. That's all.
Can you tell we're friends? I love it.
No,
anyway.
The night that I had my commitment to the Lord experience, I think it's important to say, I decided that day, no more drugs. It's over. Everything.
You thought our audience was thinking you were still smoking
Well,
pot.
I thought it would be good. I thought
Let's
it would
make it clear.
it would honor God to say
Yeah.
there was some. It was more than just me getting excited about something. There
That's
was some
good.
really visible fruit, and I
Hallelujah.
really feel like
Hallelujah.
I experienced the deliverance.
That's
Hallelujah.
great. That's great.
So
So are you going to transition to the book? Because
okay.
I've got a great segue for that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Are you ready? So we're going to talk a little bit about Jerry Miller's written a book. It's called Grace Beyond Reason. Can you see it?
Author Jerry Miller.
Okay. When you were sitting at Beth Messiah, and the Lord was like all over you, and you were understanding that it's like everything I think you said everything has to change,
Yes.
or something like that. What I hear is, I'm a big fan of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, And when he talks about cheap grace and costly grace, because we're getting ready to talk about grace, he basically says it's grace that demands discipleship.
Yes.
And so you were feeling the weight of, I'm receiving your salvation and I want to give you everything.
Exactly.
And so you were experiencing the grace of God, but the grace of God doesn't say thank you and now I get to live however I want.
Exactly.
It's thank you and now I live for you and everything changes.
That's right. That's
good.
right.
So you started to experience the grace of God day one.
I did.
So walk us through. You've written a book all about grace. And
Grace Beyond Reason, if you can't read it, that's the title is.
we want to kind of dive into the book a little bit. So why don't we
Okay.
ask the question first?
Well, first of all, I think
Go
this
ahead.
is hilarious.
Go ahead.
So, because I didn't realize this, but you were talking about how you essentially came to faith by reading a book.
Right.
Right.
And I know, like, true story, that people have come to faith by reading this book.
Yeah.
Like, we know testimonies.
Nice.
So, just book plug real fast before we even talk about it.
Yeah.
Pick up the book, give it away. Like, who doesn't want to read about grace?
It's good.
Like, who wouldn't want to hear the good news, you know?
Yeah.
So, but, yeah, just
So-
a book plug.
Sounds good.
Question number one. Why the title?
Well, well, first of all, the grace, I just became so infatuated with the grace of God.
I love that.
In my younger years. And so this became, as I came on staff at our congregation and began to be giving the messages with some regularity, and grace became kind of a life message for me. And so as I began to actually write the book, I began there was kind of a theme that I hadn't planned out, but that was jumping out to me. And I began to see that everything about the goodness of God, every way that he shows his goodness to us in our lives, doesn't make sense. It
Wait,
makes
wait.
zero sense.
That's amazing.
And
Can you say that again? I love that.
Everything,
That's so fun.
every way that God shows his goodness to us as his people, none of it makes sense.
What do you mean it doesn't make sense?
Well, let me just give a few
I
examples.
love
good.
that.
Because we've got scriptures that back me up on that. So that's,
Just talking here.
no, that's it. So God talks, we talked about the love of God at work in our lives. So Paul writes in Ephesians 3 that we are to know the love that surpasses knowledge. How do you know something that's beyond knowing?
It's good.
It doesn't make sense.
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
We're told in Philippians, and where Paul writes about the peace of God that passes understanding. In other words, it's beyond what we can fit in our minds.
Right.
So when people say the Bible doesn't make sense, you're like,
okay.
that's called grace.
Yes and no.
Good answer.
So here's the thing. As human beings, we want things to make sense, and we try to make sense of things. And we try to make sense of God loving us by looking for something in ourselves that would make him happier with us. But the problem is we won't find it.
Wow.
So we can't earn it. We can't. We can never be at a place of deserving it. So it's an unreasonable grace by which God draws us in, saves us, fills us with his life, continues to pour into us day after day, year after year. And it'll be ongoing if we'll let him do it ongoing, if we'll keep looking to him.
Wow.
He just makes this relationship available to us where we can experience something that makes no sense. Because if we try to figure it out, we know that we've messed up so many times and fallen short so many times. And what I began to realize as my wife and I were in pastoral ministry for 30 years of our time with the Lord, that a lot of believers really struggle with wondering how, and I mean, I would say including myself, how has God not written me off by this time?
Sure.
Right.
I've done this, I've sinned so many times. I've fallen short so many times. And the answer is because grace doesn't make sense.
Wow.
It's beyond reason. If grace were reasonable, it wouldn't be very special. But because it's unreasonable, that's what makes it's beyond amazing.
So
So-
someone may reply to that question or that statement, and they may say, okay, well, if grace is beyond reason, and I can't fully know it or understand it, then how do I know I'm saved? Right? That's a good question.
valid-
It's like,
Right.
okay, if it's so
Valid
beyond
question.
knowing, how do
Definitely.
I know that I'm actually saved then?
Right. I think it's the confidence in the Word of God, and the Word of God is clear about our being forgiven, about our calling on the name of the Lord. Those who call on the name of the Lord will be saved, and there's so many verses, and so it's confidence in the Word of God. But also, the longer we walk with God, because this is all about relationship, the longer we walk with Him, the more of the sense we have of His Spirit within us, just giving that knowing that I'm right with God. I don't deserve it. I can't work for it, but He loves me. His love is real. I believe it. I accept it.
It seems like it's a necessary perspective shift, where it's like, how do I know I'm saved? How do I and you're like, this is about me,
Right.
right? But then when you get the
Right.
focus off of yourself, the perspective shifts onto the promises of the Word,
Right.
onto His faithfulness, then you become more reliant on other things that are not you because you're not reliable.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's supernatural. I mean, that's
Right.
part of what you're
Exactly.
saying, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
miraculous. And I think when you look in Scripture, and not even at text by text, but just at the narrative,
Right.
it's a miraculous story.
Right.
From the
Beginning,
garden
yep.
to the Exodus to the you name it.
Yep.
It's just miracle upon miracle upon miracle. I mean, it
Right.
requires and it demands the
Yeah.
miraculous
Yeah.
in order to enter into a relationship with the miracle maker.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, think about the verse, and I can't remember the location specifically, but where Paul is writing, and he says, "God, who justifies the ungodly." How does that even happen? God takes an ungodly person and he says, "I'm making you righteous."
Right. Right.
You can't make yourself righteous. God does it. That's what salvation is all about, and it's learning
good.
to look to Him rather than to ourselves. And so that's how the title came about. Is just
good.
this was jumping out over and over again, and I said, grace doesn't make sense.
That's it.
That's
Beautiful.
it. That's the thing.
It's a great title.
All right, we've got a question from our live audience.
Live
What?
audience.
Our very own Johannes Theodros.
Okay, all right.
We interviewed him last week. Make sure, or 2 weeks ago. Make sure you go check that interview out. What's Jerry's favorite verse on grace in this current season? Great question.
I would say 2 Corinthians 9:8, God is able to make all grace abound unto us, so that always having all sufficiency for everything, we will have an abundance for every good work.
Goodness.
Snap.
That's like,
I
it's
just
like
got
I've never
saved.
heard that
I know.
before.
Say that again.
There was alls and always
And everything.
abundant everything. There was like all, always, all.
I feel like
ever.
I never heard that verse before. Wow, was that Greek? Say it again. Can you say it again? He's got it memorized.
2 Corinthians.
God is
what?
able to make all grace abound unto us, so that always having all sufficiency for everything, we will have an abundance for every good work. And I think, Paul, it's you rather than we, but
Right.
we take that and personalize it.
What's the address? What's the address?
2 Corinthians 9:8.
I love that
think.
it ends in every good work, and that's
Yes.
you talk about this as well. I mean, you talk about so much in this book but like that grace is this empowerment for obedience. It's
Right.
this empowerment even for good works, Paul says. So it's like, I mean, I feel like one of the things I love that you do in this book is it's almost, would you agree with this is my takeaway partially from your book?
If you don't
is
agree, then
that like the way you write about grace, it's like the I was gonna say the doorway drug. It's not a doorway drug, but like it's almost like the doorway into like all the other fruits. It's like because then you talk about righteousness, you talk about justification, you talk about even mercy, all these other aspects of God,
Right.
but it's almost like the doorway that like that verse was saying is always available. It's for obedience. It's for just all these other things.
Right.
Is that how you understand it?
That's definitely, well,
Because you
very
don't
similar.
just talk about grace.
Right.
You talk about so much more in there.
Right.
right.
But-
Right. So I think the mistake that a lot of people make, and that I used to make, was to think of mercy and grace as two different words for the same thing, but
Yeah.
they're not.
Yeah.
Mercy, I would say, is the doorway. Because God, because of his mercy, he forgives us. And then, but his grace then becomes the empowerment for everything after.
Wow.
And so
Because those two words, they get used interchangeably.
they do, and they're not interchangeable. They shouldn't be interchangeable.
So you're saying I'm wrong. You're saying
He did. He just said he's right.
you're saying that mercy is the gateway,
Yes.
and then you enter that gateway, and then
You
grace
live through grace.
Right.
empowers.
Yeah.
But how else would you say other than empowers?
Okay. Grace is God's divine enablement to live the impossible life that we're called to live.
Divine enablement.
Everybody, what we're called to, we really have to be serious about this, that we're called to do what's not possible.
Wow.
Remember, Yeshua said, be perfect
Yeah.
as my heavenly Father, as your heavenly Father is perfect. Well, how do you do that? It's impossible.
Right.
So grace is what meets us, enabling us to do what's impossible. Now, does that mean we'll become perfect in a day? No, it means that we enter into grace as the process that carries us throughout a lifetime, and by the time we go home to be with the Lord, well, when we are in our resurrected bodies, we will be perfected. We don't get perfected in this life.
You're saying it's a process too.
Yes.
It's transformative. It's empowering, but it's a process.
Yes. And the reason I say mercy kind of comes first is because it's mercy that opens the way. Because of being forgiven, we are now allowed to have a relationship with the most awesome, holy being
Right.
that has ever existed.
Right.
A relationship. And then in the context of the relationship, we experience his grace for becoming like Yeshua, growing into the likeness of Yeshua, and fulfilling the calling and destiny that's on every one of our lives. Every one of us has a calling and destiny that's different, except for we're all called to be like Yeshua.
Right.
Right.
So
I've been wanting to ask you this question for a while, so I might as well do it on camera. So what
I can feel it coming.
Hebrew word
Oh, okay.
or Hebrew words do you feel like when you say grace and how you're because this is your life message. Like this book is I feel like the best book on grace you'll ever read. So I'm curious. I've been curious. I'm like, how do you understand that grace in light of the Hebrew? Because I know you're Hebrew as well. So like, how would you understand that?
I would say it's I don't know of a single Hebrew word that really describes, or it can even be translated into what I would say is kind of a new covenant description of grace. And so I'd say there are three that come to mind. One is chen or hanan, which just means to be gracious. Chesed, which is usually used along with, as usually translated as loving kindness, mercy, and then rechem, or rachamim, the just compassion, and action. Yeah, and really the word technically means womb, and so
Wow.
those three words kind of combine, I think, to give us a new covenant concept of what I think grace actually accomplishes.
And do you think that's because that sounds amazing. Like knowing those three words.
Right.
Like so is what you're saying that like in the person of Yeshua and what he did on the cross is so extraordinary. Because to me, even just the word chesed has so much to that word. It's hard to translate. It's like got
Yes.
10 words you could in English.
Yeah.
But if you throw in chen and you throw in rachamim as well,
Yes.
like grace then becomes this like overpowering or empowering, I guess you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, but it's because of the work of the cross. Is
Right.
that how you would understand
Exactly.
it? Like, oh wow,
Exactly.
I'm getting saved again.
I know, same.
And I kind of one of the definitions that I heard for grace years ago, and I mean you could write books on definitions, but a one that I liked really quite a bit, and what he said was, grace is the work of God to enable us to become what God already sees us as being.
Wow.
Which to me is such an amazing concept. And there is a chapter in the book. It's chapter 6 called "Seeing as God Sees," which is my favorite chapter in the book. And it's about, and it's just understanding how God actually sees us, and that how it can be that He knows everything, but He doesn't see us according to our sins. He doesn't see us according to our shortcomings.
Wow.
But the first part of that was what I was kind of saying, which is the work of God, right? Which is, not the penultimate moment is the cross in that
Right.
sense, or the ultimate sacrifice.
Right.
But then you're saying, that helps us to be able to even have a view or seeing who we're supposed to become. Is that what you're saying?
I think, Yeshua is who we're supposed to become. So that's impossible. I mean, it's impossible to perfectly attain to that in this life by just trying to do good.
Right.
So God gives us grace to do a work in us that wouldn't otherwise be possible. Think about it. If any one of us if we've lived a life committed to the Lord, granted, imperfect in our commitment, but committed to the Lord, any one of us who has lived a life committed to the Lord can look back 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and realize, my goodness, God really has done a work in me. I can see it. I can tell. I know that I'm different. And that's grace.
Yeah.
It's not that I've just tried a little bit harder. It's
Right.
grace.
Right.
And so,
So it's almost like He's given Himself to us.
yes.
Like it's like I see it as like progressive cumulative revelation in the person of Yeshua, then He then gives to us, and then we become empowered by His Spirit for everything we would ever need.
That's right.
Right.
Well, that's
right.
It's it's like, I'm loving this.
Well, because even Titus talks about like His grace has appeared,
Right.
to train us to renounce ungodliness.
Yeah.
But he's even talking. I think he's talking about Yeshua. Like
Yeah.
His grace has appeared. His grace is Yeshua.
Right.
And so he's like, it starts here, and then it empowers you to live a life renouncing ungodliness.
Yeah.
So it's this like, it starts here, this ultimate, like you said, this penultimate moment in time where it's like, He does the work, He gives Himself, and then He empowers us through His Spirit for a life of righteousness.
And for folks, who want to use the concept of grace as a license to just live however they want.
Yeah. Speak to that a little bit.
Well, it's a huge thing. And I mean, first of all, a simple thing like John 14, if you love me, keep my commandments. I mean, keep my words. And at any rate, but I felt like the Lord gave me gave me something a few years ago. It was right as I was in the early stages of writing the book, and I was in a situation where somebody was giving a teaching, and it was a powerful teaching that was tough, that was hard for people to process, but it was inspiring. And so I felt like, not that he wasn't sharing it with grace, because he was, but I felt like people need a little grace for processing it. But I kept thinking, no, because I don't want to undermine the brother who's sharing, because what he's sharing is so good and so right on. And so I felt like the Lord spoke to my heart, just one of the clearest things he's ever spoken. And it was he said, grace, and I'm just sitting there in the audience while the brother is speaking, and he said, grace doesn't release you from the responsibility of obedience. Grace takes away your excuses for not obeying. And I thought, that's it. And I knew it had to be God, because it was too good for me to come up with that, to be honest with you. I love it. I was just like, I'm sitting there in the midst of it, and I'm thinking, that's so good, I've got to get it in the book, because I started to write the book.
I don't know how you do it. You have like 800 amazing one-liners. Like, I'm just like, that was a good one. That was a good one. It was so good. Do we want to give away a couple books? Is that what we want to do? Okay, so we want to give away 3 of these books. So how about, what do we say? The first 3 to email us?
Oh.
How about that?
With a verse about grace.
First 3 people to email us with a verse about grace to hello@grafted.family, you get a free book. Okay.
All right.
So you get 3 of them. We'll buy them from you, Jerry.
Wow.
That
was rich.
Yeah.
I feel like I just want to encourage everyone to buy the book. Go, if you aren't one of those 3, right? Go to Amazon or wherever you buy books. I think it's available. Is that right?
Can I give a plug on
Please,
that? Because the best price you'll find if you want a paperback, go to our website, which is Grace Empowers, one long word, graceempowers.org. And we sell the paperback for $15, including postage, unless you live overseas, in which case we've got another
different
consideration. But otherwise, if you want a digital form, definitely go to Amazon. It's available in audiobook. And
it's an audiobook.
yes, it's on Audible.
Who reads it?
He did.
What?
I do.
You did?
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
I want Jerry to read me a book. Link to that is in the description below. graceempowers.org.
Yes, that's right.
Get there or be
Check it out. Support Rabbi Jerry Miller.
Yes.
Man, it's been so good to have you on.
It's been
This
great.
was a great
Okay.
conversation. I learned a lot.
Praise the Lord.
And I feel like I want to go and study about grace even more now.
It's good.
And I feel, encouraged. I
Yeah.
mean, grace is kind of a big deal.
huge.
I think we learned that. If you
It's
have any
huge, man.
takeaway, you're supposed to learn that grace is a really big deal. So this is Mr. Grace in some sense.
Mr. Grace. Okay, before we let you go, I got one last question.
Uh-oh.
Off the top of your head, what's your favorite Bible joke?
Oh my goodness.
Or a Bible joke.
Wow.
You got one?
I just know.
It's okay. It's all right.
It's
all right.
okay. How about here's a better one. Who is your favorite grafted host?
That's not fair.
Or
right.
who is your favorite fellow elder of your congregation? If we didn't make that clear, we are elders together in our congregation.
Hey,
Yes,
and
we are.
I'm no longer the newest member of the eldership team.
Ooh, that's
so,
right.
We got a young up and comer here.
You're gonna do great.
That would be me. Yeah.
One more question.
We do have one more question
okay.
from
Okay.
Susan Q.
Hey Tom,
Tom.
quick question.
Who
is your favorite sister?
Well, that's an easy answer because I only have one sister, so she's also my least favorite sister. But love you, Susan.
She's
Wow.
laughing. She's
That's
laughing.
hilarious.
That's funny.
Well, that's a good transition to
It is.
talking about, don't you think?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. To talking about Grafted U once again,
Oh, yeah.
because we have a special discount now until Tuesday, November.
It's a ho-do giveaway.
It's a two giveaway. 20% off. Use Give Thanks 20 in the checkout when you register for the class at graftedu.org. And actually, you could even just donate out of the generosity of your heart to Grafted, because someday I would love to have a Grafted U course all about grace. Wouldn't that be amazing?
That'd be cool.
Hosted and taught by our very own Jerry Miller. That's our dream as we grow, God willing. So please encourage friends and family for Hanukkah gifts, Christmas gifts,
Christmas gifts.
birthday, anything. Please, you are our marketing department, so please share about Grafted U and Grafted. We hope to have the season 3 reaction videos out
As soon as they let
as
us.
soon as they let us. So we are actually waiting to see.
We haven't seen it yet.
We haven't seen it yet, so we're excited. We want to hope they hurry up and put it out so that we
Get on
can
the ball,
see it
Dallas.
and react. I've heard it's amazing, but not with any details.
I've heard one thing. That it's awesome.
Oh yeah. And please
Had you.
check out. Now I forgot his name. Matt Maher. I was gonna say John Mayer. I was like, it's not
Different.
John Mayer.
It's
That's
different.
the white-haired, yeah, Matt Maher. Wow, that song.
I gotta go listen
The
to it.
in between that we heard at the last year's
Cocktail party.
cocktail party. It's so amazing. I cry every time I listen to it. Check out his song. It's so good. It really is. So we're going to, once again, if you just jumped on, we're going to show a promo to Grafted U. So let's cue it up. Well, welcome to Grafted U. We are a spirit-empowered, Messianic Jewish-rooted Bible school, and our purpose is to help you develop a biblical Messianic worldview so you can go deeper in your understanding of God and the Bible. Today, there is so much confusion about God and the Bible, Israel, the end times, and so many people are talking about the Jewish roots of the faith because they want to understand the historical and authentic Jesus of the Bible. So we are offering an online class titled Introduction to a Biblical Messianic Worldview. And it's going to help you understand the biblical story and the important role of Israel and the church, and how we can help hasten the return of King Jesus. I'm Dr. Tom Blake. I have my doctorate in Messianic Jewish theology. I've lived and studied in Israel. I am excited to help you build a biblical Messianic worldview. Over 5 weeks, I'm going to be your professor and your family. He sent his son Jesus to bring salvation to Israel and the nations so that we could be a part of his big, diverse, and unified kingdom family. We will send you 2 videos each week, plus we'll have a live class each Tuesday where we'll have teaching and questions and answers, and then we'll break into small group discussions that are facilitated with questions and answers. By the end of the class, you're going to be able to understand the big picture of the biblical story, this biblical Messianic worldview, and you're going to be able to see where we've come from, where we're going, and what still needs to happen to get to the return of King Jesus. Because we all have a role to play in hastening his return. So join me and partner with the Lord in building this unified kingdom family. Sign up today for the class to go deeper in your understanding of God and the Bible and build a biblical Messianic worldview. Here we go.
Oh, gosh.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. We were talking. It was We actually do like each other. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for tuning in to the live stream. Thank you, Jerry Miller, for being here.
Thank you so much.
GraceEmpowers.org.
Yes.
Go buy some books and sign up for Grafted U. Happy Thanksgiving.
Ho do, ho do.
Ho do.
Happy Thursday for everyone else.
Happy Thursday for all of those in Scotland and everywhere else. We'll see you next time.
Love you guys.